Welcome to the Anime Podcast channel. My name is Benji, and today, Oda decided to give us a generous One Piece chapter before the holidays, and boy, does he deliver. Chapter 1035, Zoro vs King. But with that being said, before we get into it, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. My guys Nick and JC come up with weekly podcast episodes on all of your favorite anime and manga. And go ahead and join our Discord. We talk One Piece literally every single day. And we even come up with, correct predictions for the series, which I'll explain a little bit later on in the video. But this chapter is kind of short, but that doesn't deviate from any of the hype. So let's begin. So we start with a cover page of Germa 66 after the events of Whole Cake Island. Now if you do remember, at the end of Whole Cake Island, Big Mom and her whole crew was chasing after Luffy, Germa, all of those niggas. Now we don't see Judge and his children, but we do see that the island of Germa and all of the snails that come with Germa, they're actually on the sea. So I guess we can infer that they were able to escape, but I do want to kind of see the transition of how that actually transpired. Obviously Jinbei did get away, Big Mom's still alive, but I do want to see if there was any repercussions that came after the whole cake incident. And also, in addition, especially with the earlier parts of this chapter, we may still see the Sanji and Germa reunion in some ways, even though we already kind of got that last chapter, if you know what I mean. But let's begin with the actual chapter. And we begin with a pack, baby! Let's go! So we continue with the Queen and Sanji fight, and this man Sanji sends this man Queen flying all the way to Laptail itself. And Queen looks so messed up right now, missing teeth and all of that. You see Sanji posted up all diesel, all beastly. And in my opinion, I feel like this is Sanji's highest accomplishment fighting wise. Defeating a calamity of the beast pirates with a 1.32 billion berry bounty is a crazy feat in and of itself. Now I do wish the fight was a little bit longer, but I do understand Oda trying to kind of move things along so we can get to that Luffy and Kaido battle. But nonetheless, I really do love this fight between Queen and Sanji and the conclusion that we just got this chapter. And this may be a reach, but if you look at this panel, this may be a reference to Marco's comments earlier on that the stars are taking the stage, and in this case being the last one standing. Like basically the panel is him just standing alone on this stage, like kind of paneling, and then on the side we also see Sanji's face, verbally, still upset that the fact that Queen not only hit a woman, but also was like the embodiment of all of the Germa family, Ichiji, Yanji, as well as Niji. But if you also remember the geisha in the last chapter who was searching for her mouse, she comes in contact with Sanji. And we see this beautiful moment of Sanji remembering his pet mouse that he actually befriended back in Germa when he was a child. But this simply kind of doubles down that Sanji was able to overcome so much from this battle, not only mentally, but in essence was able to defeat his family, since Queen was able to use each and every member of the Vinsmoke family's abilities. And we end the chapter with Sanji fainting, and there were some idiots on Twitter who were talking about Zorro knocked Sanji out with his conquerors. Nah, that's not it. If you remember last chapter, Queen actually reiterates that the rate that Sanji was going, especially with the speed that he was going at, the faster acceleration, the heavier hits, he was bound to lose his stamina. So I really feel like it's a test of that. Like I said, not only that, but the mental fortitude that Sanji has had to go through, in conjunction with just being able to utilize these augmented abilities that he just got. Hasn't trained with them, hasn't really kind of learned how to do this, that, and the third. Honestly, he just got them and just worked with how he knew how to fight. So like I said, really dope fight. Like I said, I don't know if this is particularly his best fight, but it has to be up there. I mean, to be honest, you can't write levels like this and not say that this isn't one of Sanji's best feats or best fights, nonetheless. And we get Victor Sanji. Now, As far as what happens to Queen, I don't know where this nigga gonna go, cause literally Sanji kicked this man off the island. Like, so I think further on maybe we'll see some kind of interaction with Queen and King. I don't know if Zoro's gonna send King flying, but let's say I do want to kind of get a little bit more about the Madge project and kind of see how that goes, especially with that, with Vagabond and Judge. That has to be something there that Oda wants to kind of dive into a little bit later on. But the crazy thing is, this is only the beginning of the chapter, and now we cut to Zoro and King's fight. Now, if you remember, Zoro has finally been able to use his Conqueror's coding haki on each of his swords, and we begin with Zoro finally being able to cut King's mask off. And this kind of plays on a little bit later on in the chapter of Zoro noticing that once his flames are out, he's very vulnerable to attacks. And then we see King's face for the first time, and I'm not gonna lie, King's a handsome dude. He can get all the waifus, to be honest. But King has long white hair, dark brown skin, and black wings. And I really love his character design. I think this is one of the better villain character designs that we've seen. Not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of Katakuri and how he looked as a first commander. But King is really up there. I mean, like I said, the long hair, and then I know they did some fan art of him having red eyes. I would love to see how it is depicted in the anime. But I don't know, King looks beastly. And we later learned from the fodder beast pirates that any info on Lunarians can result in 100 million berries reward. And the funny thing is, I don't know if they were just stating that, like they weren't in particularly going to snitch on King, basically because they knew he was a Lunarian. But like, I don't know, the fact of the matter is, King, he doesn't take this to his likeness. And King uses a technique called Imperial King Flames, I believe, and freaking melts all of the fodder beast pirates that are around. Basically the same pirates that got knocked out from Zoro's haki. And I don't know, this shit was kind of funny because like I could just imagine they could be like, oh shit, the Lunarians, you know? That's just funny to me. Like these niggas just got blown away for no reason. So then Zoro states this: the castle was already an inferno, and that's also no way to treat your men. And then Zoro says, you better be focusing on me than throwing a tantrum. So the government is that invested in your kind, huh? Tell me about your race. Now, I'm not gonna say it, but you know, these allegations against Zoro from last chapter, I don't know, this man looking real kind of sus, dog. I mean, come on, Zoro. Police hunter Zoro, you feel me? And then King says, why should I bother? You'll already be dead soon. So we continue the battle with a bunch of epic fighting and clashing. And Zoro lets it be known that not only is his medicine going to run out very soon, but also the Conqueror's haki that Enma is eating from Zoro itself is going to run out, because I don't think he can take it much longer. And then King also states that he is reaching his limits as well. Now before we see Zoro go crazy, he says this: we're in the same boat then, and you've had time on top. Now have you got to make room for us? And he uses a King of Hell 3-sword style. And then King reiterates, he said, don't get ahead of yourself. Kaido will become the king of the pirates. And then we go enter a flashback. Now, before I get into the flashback, I do want to go ahead and say this. In our Discord, we actually called how Kaido and King kind of met. We kind of came to the conclusion that, you know, Kaido having all this time in government facilities after he was captured, and then him and King were able to meet in one of those facilities and kind of gain a partnership or gain a relationship. And like I said, you know, go ahead and join the Discord, shameless plug. But to summarize, King was being experimented on at a government facility. Now, if you remember, Kaido had multiple run-ins with the government and simply broke out at any occasion that he got. So Kaido states to a teenage King that he's creating a pirate crew. And we get this really dope and kind of sweet interaction between King and Kaido, with King asking this to Kaido: do you really think you'll be able to change the world? And Kaido simply states, I'm the only one who can. We also get word of King's real name, which is Arbor, which I think is a cool name. But Kaido states this: he says, you're too strong for a name like that. How about I call you King? And he goes from that from now on. And like I said, this flashback kind of raises a few more questions about whether or not this was associated with the Madge project, or this was a part of any other kind of circumstantial stuff. But at the end of the day, I really like the fact that, you know, King and Kaido had this kind of interaction, especially with Kaido needing a first mate, a first crewman. And also, it's kind of rare that you see Kaido smiling. I don't think we've seen Kaido smiling. I mean, as far as in his younger days, from this point on. So I don't know. I found this pretty dope. But after the flashback, we immediately see Zoro using his Purgatory Onigiri attack on King, and it presumably does nothing because at this point King still has his flames activated. And then Zoro says something very interesting. He says King's flames are like magma. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is akin to a Kainu, but I do want to see a little bit more about this a little bit later on. Who knows? But I don't know. Like I said, we'll discuss that in another episode. But I always thought that was kind of interesting to put that in there. So from here on out, the battle continues. Zoro actually notices at one point that King is speeding up and he doesn't have flames. This is a perfect opportunity for Zoro to go ahead and cut him. Zoro uses Bird Song right across King's chest, forcing him to bleed, a whole slash across his whole torso. King and Zoro continue the battle to this point. And then King says this: "You've caught on to how my powers work." And then Zoro says, "That's right. Ready to admit defeat yet?" They continue their conversation and King says this: "Your kind is too inferior for you to have a prayer against me." And Zoro says this, which I feel like is reputable. He says, "That's the kind of thinking I hate most." And this is where we get to the conclusion of the chapter. We see King using an attack called the Imperial Guardian Fire Dragon, which looks absolutely crazy. And I can't wait to see this animated. And Zoro uses a new attack called this: King of Hell 3 Dragon Style 103 Senses. And I believe this translates to Soaring Jingoku Dragon, I think. And basically that means like a Hell's Dragon or something like that. If the translations are right. I'm sorry, I'm kind of paraphrasing things a little bit. But basically Zoro conjures all of his blades and black lightning, an immense amount of black lightning and smoke. And Zoro cuts right through the Imperial Flame Dragon that King had. And King looks so shook. And then finally we end the chapter with Zoro, you know, blasting King right through the chest with nothing but black lightning all over the place. And then I'm pretty sure that this is the end of their bout between King and Zoro. I want to know if he sends King flying in the same direction as Queen. I feel like that would be dope. But this is the end of the chapter. And then next week technically is a break, but it's not. The chapter and the spoilers are going to come out next week. But we're not going to see it until the following week because of Christmas. But I am very, very impressed with the pacing of these chapters and these fights. Like I said, I do want to see kind of a little bit more about Queen and the Madge Project, on whether or not King had any kind of involvement with that. I want to see more of these flashbacks between Kaido as well as King, because Kaido, a younger Kaido, seemed more ambiguous. Well, not ambiguous, but more motivated. It seemed a little bit more happier back then. I kind of want to see a little bit more of a young Kaido back then, and what were his ambitions? Why did he want to change the world? And why did he say, "I'm the only one who can"? So I don't know, man. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in this chapter that I really, really like. And like I said, there's a bunch of other things that I kind of want to get across. And I feel like at this point in time, obviously, I don't necessarily. I know a lot of people are saying that Sanji low def Queen. I would say like his problem in that battle was more so a mental problem than anything else. Once he was able to obtain those augmented abilities and use his battle prowess in order to defeat Queen, I don't think it was that difficult for him to, you know, send him flying. I mean, think about it. He sent a Calamity flying off of Onigashima. Like, that's a feat in and of itself. We've never seen that before. So, I don't know. I find that very, very interesting. But, and like I said, with the whole Zoro thing, I find like this is just Zoro. Zoro at this point of the story has to be one of the strongest in the One Piece world that we've known. And like I said, I love to see it. I want to see if whether or not, you know, he's just becoming more and more closer to his dream of becoming the strongest swordsman. So I don't know, but I do honestly do want to see about his black blades, see about him transforming his blades into black blades. That is something that I do want to see a little bit later on as well. But yeah, 10 out of 10 chapter. I'm so glad that Oda is able to come up with this heat. I'm very excited to see kind of what transpires in these next couple chapters, especially with Luffy and Kaido. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next chapter review. Peace.